Fentanyl overdoses, a raging border crisis, soaring crime. President Obama being criticized after revealing that none of those issues are the ones that keep him up at night.
What about this country keeps you up at night?
The thing that I'm most worried about is the degree to which we now have a divided conversation, in part because we have a divided media. When I was coming up, you had 3 TV stations.
Yeah.
And people were getting a similar sense of what is true and what isn't, what was real and what was not. Today, what I'm most concerned about is the fact that because of the splintering of the media, we almost occupy different realities.
While President Obama worries about people living in different realities, the Washington Post announcing that it is standing by its Trump-Russia collusion investigation coverage, even after the Durham report blew a hole in the mainstream media's reporting. That is something else, Jesse. That is something else.
Yeah, I am standing by my birth certificate reporting as well.
Take it back.
I take it back. I do take it back. So Barack Obama has been whining about Fox for what now, 10 years? And he has 90% control of the media, but Fox keeps him up at night. Not all of the mass shootings in Chicago. Not Michelle, Fox. You know, the guy never wants to talk about policy. He never talks about policy. It's always PR with him. And he's so thin-skinned. And there has to be something really deeper than all of this. He's probably a little annoyed that Joe Biden's passing better legislation than he is. He's annoyed that Michelle is a fruit juice tycoon and has her own Netflix special and her book sold more copies. And he's looking for attention because you're asking the former president, this is a pretty important question. You're looking for a visionary response. This was not, in 100 years, we're talking about AI keeps me up, China. No. It's Jesse Waters prime time.
Yeah, polarization in America. That is like the pat answer.
I had no idea he was a white supremacist. He wants to go back to the days where you have 3 white TV anchors, right?
Men.
So it's really, it is kind of an interesting observation that among the left, racism has exploded as more and more diverse voices are all over the place. It's like you've seen minority majority rule basically in entertainment, and it's now worse than ever. What is wrong with a divided media? We have a divided government. It's the only way things can work is to have. Now, there is division, intense division. That's different than a divided media, right? People getting angry at each other, demonizing people. Generally, the demonization started with the left because they were the ones who made it personal in the 70s, and now the right's catching up. But you need to have a divided media because what else would you have? You would have the 3 white guys. And everything sucked in the 70s. The only good thing you could do is litter. And basically, I learned that was wrong, too, over time.
And you could smoke in all the restaurants.
You could smoke everywhere. And then you could go up to the drive-thru, you could order food, and then you would just throw everything out the window. We're crazy people back then. You don't want to go back there.
Katie, it was his staff that coined the phrase media echo chamber when Ben Rhodes, if you remember, did the story that said basically they were able to push any narrative they wanted to because the media that they were talking to would eat it up.
Specifically with the Iran nuclear deal. President Obama talks about how we have a divided media, that we live in different realities. That's a problem for him. We actually just have a fuller picture because we have more media. We have democratized media through alternative stations, through social media, through citizen journalists, and yet people like President Obama don't like that because it debunks a number of these narratives that they continue to try and push. Let's not forget that Barack Obama was the president who spied on reporters. He was tapping the phones of news executives. They were following the movements of reporters going in and out of federal government buildings. They prosecuted more sources under the Espionage Act than any other president in the history of the country. And you wonder if we were still doing this the 3 network thing, big scandals like Operation Fast and Furious, for example, wouldn't have been covered. Just think about all the things that don't get covered by certain outlets, but do get covered by others. And so we have a fuller story.
Well, it's interesting if you do think about the Hunter Biden laptop story, the mainstream media got dragged kicking and screaming to admitting that that story was real after a while.
It definitely took a while. It was, not that we're going to rehash everything from the illustrious Twitter files, but it was like 24 hours that the story was down when the New York Post put it up. But yeah, there are definitely some things where the media is late to the game on it, and there seems to be a wink and a nod agreement. Like, we're not talking about this. These are the things that are our priorities. And that's really what your media choice is about. You find something that reflects the things that you care about. So if you're a voter or you're just a person, maybe you're not even that political, that thinks that what's going on the border is absolutely the most important story, you're going to tune into, whether that's an influencer, that's someone who has a YouTube show, a podcast, a cable news network that is going to cover those stories because that's what resonates with you. We talk about this all the time, that candidates go out there and they talk about things that just don't mean anything to their audience, right? You show up in the wrong place. We were saying about the town hall last week, right? That Caitlin Collins wanted to talk about issues that might matter to CNN voters, but the Republican primary voters that were sitting there saying, you know, actually, I'm not showing up because I want to talk about the Dobbs decision. I want to talk about illegal immigration, or I want to talk about slain police officers. Jesse, to your point, though, about President Obama being jealous of Joe Biden, the Affordable Care Act, which he got passed, is one of the most seminal pieces of legislation in America. Yeah, seminal.
You know what seminal means?
I do. Do you?
I don't think you know what it means.
I dare you to tell all of us what it means.
No, it's to write it off. I'm the one writing it off.
BFD.
Oh, wow. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.